everybody. So we are going to introduce to you, to some of you at least, the beautiful site of Susya. Susya is one of our favorite archaeological sites. And we went there the first time when we did our tour guide course. It was in 2009 or something like this, I don't remember, 2010. We were there, and when we were at this place, we really felt an anointing, something very special. First of all, the light is beautiful. You see just behind me on the virtual background that I put, this is the ancient synagogue of Susya. And you see, this is the winter light, which is very special, very beautiful in the Judean Hills. So we were there, and something really caught our attention. And then we were with somebody in our group, and we told her that we would love to live in those places in the Judean Hills. And she said, it really would fit you. And a few years later, we moved into Judean Hills. You know, so there was something very special about this Susya that we want to share with you, and we invite you to follow us for this visit. So it's going to be a Zoom. We're going to speak with Shaul, and then also we made some video clips. So it's going to be a mix of the two. We really hope that the sound will be good, because with the Zoom and transformational recording of the video is not the best. So if it's not the best, we will try also to add some more explanation in live on the Zoom, and then make everything work together. So for the one who don't know us, I think most of the people here know us, but for the one who don't know us, we are tour guides in Israel, and we live in Israel since 95, with a break of 6 years. So we have been living here most of a lot of years.
20 years.
How many?
20 years around.
And we have our 4 children here also. We guide, we used to guide, you know, now we have to go virtual, but we used to guide many groups until last March. Our last group was in March, and we guide in groups. We guide in Temple Institute, in City of David, and many different places. But for the moment, we switched a little bit to virtual because there are no more tourists, and it's very sad, by the way. So because we missed guiding, we decided to do those little movies and to share, to still share with you all the beautiful places that we have in the land. So let's start.
So now we'll speak about the location, the geographic location of Susya. So Susya is in what is called the Judean Hills. You know, in Israel you have from north to south you have the Samarian Hills, and Judean Hills, with Jerusalem in the center, and in the middle of it, all these ridge of mountains is about 1,000 meters, which the most is 1,200 feet. Is what I said, 1,200 feet. Yeah, no, it's more. It's 2,000 feet. I'm sorry. And this is the ridge is north-south, and the southern part of these mountains are the Judean Hills. Susya is at the end, still at the same altitude. From Jerusalem to Susya, the ridge is about 800 meters, and which is 2,400 feet. And after that, you have what is called the gate of the Negev, of the desert. So Susya is at the end. On one side, you see the desert, and on the other side, you see what is called the Shvela, and the land of the Philistine at the time of biblical time.
You can follow my,
What?
I'm showing you the people with my arrow.
Yeah, you see the arrow. So now we speak about what is called the Watershed Line. On the top of these mountains, you have a road, which is the top of the mountain. It's like this in many countries. People were using to travel on top of the mountain for different reasons, to don't be trapped by the bandits, or and also you see on the both sides, also the animals on the roads are more flat. When you are on the top, it's you don't have to go down and up and down, up and down. You're on the top, and it's the way to travel in the ancient time, and it's still the way of the roads of today are on the ways of the ancient time, which is called today, for example, around Hebron, you have what is called the Patriarchs Road, because you can imagine that in the biblical stories, you have Abraham Avinu living in Beersheba. You have Beersheba at the start, and he's going to Hebron. You see Hebron by this road, which is today the road 60 in Israel, but it was the way to go from Beersheba to Hebron. It's for sure people walking there, all the history, the kings, King David, we speak about King David after that. They have to pass on these roads. From Beersheba to Hebron, the mountains are cut in two ridges, two anticlines, one on the west and one on the east. The eastern side is where Susya is located. It's called in the book of Joshua 15, it's called the Vul Moab, the border of Moab. Moab is the people living on the other side of the Jordan River, on the Dead Sea River. Moab is from the Moabite, is the typical invader. In all the stories of the Bible, you have the invader. The invader is Moab, crossing the Jordan River and going and coming to the kingdom of Judah or Israel through this place. So until today we have the archaeological sites of many fortresses. One of them is very close to us where we are living now. You see the little blue arrow? It's where we are living now. Susya is a few miles away. And on this ridge, there was many fortresses to check and to survey the Gvul of Moab, the border of Moab. So this place is well known in the Bible. For example, again in the book of Joshua, you have the cities given to the tribe of Judah. You have Carmel, you have Eshtamo, Hebron, and you have Yatta. All these cities that you can find also in the story of King David. For example, Abishai, one of the wives of David, was from Carmel, and many other stories like this. Most of these cities were a city where Levites also were living. You know, the Levites from the tribes, they were the one that they're not possessed some territories, but they were living inside the other tribes to teach them to carry the teaching of the Torah, and they were living, and they possess some cities, and one of the cities is in front of Susya. You have Eshtamoa and Yatta, where Levite cities. Okay, so now Ora, what you...
Yeah, so what we have also, we can mention that from Hebron, we have the Patriarchs Road, you mentioned it. Okay, and this is the continuation of the road. So it was, in fact, Susya was located in a main crossroad. It was an important site located in those hills because it was really going to the Arad valley, while the second anticline was going rather to Beersheba. So this is the, in fact, one of the main roads. This is why people would travel this way, you know. And where we live here now in Aramasa, there is a Roman road that was built much later than at the time, and we had the privilege to be able to call it not Roman road, although it's a Roman road that was built on a previous road, which was one of the Patriarch Road, one of King David Road. So we called it the King's Way. So in fact, now if you come and visit, you will have the King's Way, and then after you have the Patriarch Road, everything going and really showing that it was the kingdom of Judah. This is what is very important. This is a biblical setting that we are in. And this Susya is located in this little kingdom, hidden, but not that much. And we will see what it goes. So let's continue in the presentation. I'm going to go back to full screen. Okay, and then we have to do a little bit of history. So the history, this site was studied to be excavated at the late 19th century by the Palestinian Exploration Fund, and there was even one French archaeologist, Victor Guérin. And then after it really raised some interest because they found out that it was a big site. They found some wine press and agricultural facilities dating from the 2nd century before Jesus, BC. And they also found some Edomite grave with the Edomite names. So they thought that maybe those Edomites coming from Edom were people that were converted to Judaism at the 2nd century by the Asmonean king,
Alexander Yanai.
Alexander Yanai, thank you. But it's not sure. That was not very clear at the time, but they found those archaeological remains. Then later it started to really develop at the Roman period and mainly after the Bar Korba revolt. So the Bar Korba revolt was in 135, where Bar Korba really destroyed the Roman legion, really waged a war against the Romans, and it started after the destruction of the Second Temple, which was in 70. The Jews didn't settle. They started to foment the revolt. They started to hide to dig caves, to hide into caves, and to build this secret army and to fight the Romans. So following that, Hadrian, who was the Roman emperor at the time, sent many legions to crush the revolt of Bar Korba, which he did. And then he forbade the Jews to live in Jerusalem. So they flew Jerusalem, and he forbade them to even see Jerusalem. So we'll hear in the movie that most of the Jews, they flew to Galilee. But we found out later, where archaeological findings, that a lot of them settled in the Judean Hills. And because of the topography, when you have Hebron, you've seen Hebron on the map, then after just before Hebron, you have Halhul, and Halhul is even higher. So when you are south of Halhul, you cannot see Jerusalem anymore. And this is what they did. So then after the city developed until at the Talmudic period and really reached its peak at the 4th, 5th century. And then after, at the 7th century, when the Muslim came, suddenly everything disappeared, like many sites in the land, not only the Susya, but something happened and the population disappeared. But we didn't find in Susya any trace of fire, destruction, or whatever. It just disappeared. Then later we found some remains of the Crusader period, followed by the Mamluk period, Muslim and Christian. You know, for 2,000 years, the land was divided between the Muslims and the Christian all the time, one after each other. And then it disappeared, and only at our era, we found again Susya, and it's beautiful, beautiful, it's a big site. So let's hear a little bit what we have to share and what Shaul is going to share us. And you see in the movie, I'm playing the dummy for you.
So, where are we located now?
Oh, so we are here in Susya. Susya is a city, about 100 acres, and 10 miles from Hebron and 15 miles from Beersheba. We are still at the same altitude as Jerusalem, about 2,000 feet, and we are in a city that's called Susya, in the same area that we see in the book of Joshua.
The tribe of Judah.
The tribe of Judah, exactly. In Joshua, the book of Joshua 15, you have the limits of the tribe of Judah, the territories that belongs to Judah, with a city called Utah that we still see today, and Yatta at that time, Eshtamoa, and we have cities that are present in the Bible.
I think we have also Carmel.
Carmel, where King David had a story, and it's where from Abigail is coming from. One of the wives of David was from Carmel. It's very close from here, and in fact, the ridge of the mountain from the Judean mountains are on one north-south axis, and from Hebron there is two anticlines, so one east and one west. We are on the eastern anticline, which is called, it's one of the limits of the tribe of Judah, which is called in the Bible Vul Moab, the border of Moab. What is this border? Moab. Moab is the Moabite, and which is today the Jordani, across the Dead Sea Valley, the reefs of the Dead Sea. And this is the Moab, where the many invasion, this is the enemy in the Bible, one of the main enemy that was always invading the territory. And it's one place that from the top of the mountain you can watch and prevent the invasions.
So if I understand, we are located in one of the main road going from south to north, and north of Hebron we also have the Patriarch Road.
Exactly. Today there is the Patriarch Road, but it's called the Patriarch Road, and from a little bit after Hebron. But the Patriarch Road was from Beersheba. Imagine, at the time of Abraham lived for a while in Beersheba, which is in the valley here, a plateau approximately we'll speak in meter or in feet, is about 1,200 feet. And when Abraham wants to go to Hebron, he goes on this ridge or on the western one to Hebron. It's what we can call the Patriarch Road, because all the stories, the biblical stories, even King David when he comes from Carmel, or all the stories of the Bible, this is the way.
This is the place. Yeah. So we are in the Judean Hills, south of Hebron, on the east anticline, going all the way down to the desert, Negev desert. And we're going to hear about the story of this wonderful, huge city that was located in those hills.
So what we have, the first thing that we have this burial cave. You see the round stone that is just in front. This is a Talmudic time. So at the time, the people, they used to be put on stone bench in rock cut tombs that can go back very, very late in history, because early in history, because you see in Machpelah, in the Hebron, when Abraham is burying Sarah, that was also rock-cut tombs. So this tradition and this continued, and people were put on stone benches then to die, and then year later, something like this, they would come and collect the bones, and they would put them in a burial chamber, another little place. Later in history, and mainly under the King Herod, for instance, the bones were collected into ossuaries. Ossuaries were a little box like this with the length of the femur bone, and people were burying into ossuaries. But generally, they were burying into those familial burial cave, which belonged to more rich family, poor
Rich families, yes.
Poor people, they were buried in the ground with nothing. So they would put the bodies there and roll this stone around in order to prevent for robbery, to prevent for ritual impurity, because you couldn't come close to a dead. In Judaism, if, for instance, a priest has no right to pass through a cemetery in order not to be tainted by death, because death is the opposite of life, and God being a God of the living, death is a result of the sin and everything. So the priests who are serving in the temple are not allowed till today to go into a cemetery. So to prevent this ritual impurity, this huge stone was rolled in front. How do we know that it was kind of Jewish? Because we are still now talking, and we didn't enter the city yet. And in like in Jerusalem, for instance, you don't have any cemeteries inside the city. For the same reason, death and life are not going together. Death is something that will pass away, and for the living, you don't introduce it. You don't put death inside the walls. So there is even a Talmudic passage that says that the father and son were walking together, and the son was getting tired, so he said, when are we arriving? And the father told him, once you will see a cemetery, know that we're not far from the city. So it means that the Jewish cemeteries were located and are still located outside of the city.
So now we're going to enter this city with the big wall here. And can you tell us when this city started to appear and who was living there?
So this is exactly the question. This is this city, as you can see, is a walled city that started approximately at the first half of the 2nd century, after what is called the Bar Kokhba revolt. This was the second destruction of Jerusalem by Hadrian. And Hadrian was very harsh with the Jewish people, and most of the Jewish started to live in Galilee, very far from Judea and from Jerusalem. But some of them apparently started to settle here in the Judean Hills.
Yeah, if I remember well, Hadrian forbade the Jews to stay in Jerusalem and to even see Jerusalem.
Exactly. Even you cannot live like in Halhul. Even if it is 20 miles from Jerusalem, you can still see Jerusalem. And this Bar Kokhba said nothing like this. After this revolt, approximately in the 150 of our era, we see that these people, they start to settle in this city. And they were probably people from Judea, and probably also Kohanim, means priest. We have here, like we said in the book of Joshua 15, we see that they were in the, you remember that in each tribe, in each territory of the tribe, you had Levite cities.
Yeah.
So 2 cities here, Eshtamoa and Maon, were Levite cities. According to the sign that we will see now in the city inside, we are almost sure that these people were very religious and probably Levites and even Kohanim.
So if you say that this was a Jewish city, I would like to see some Jewish signs. Let's go on
We're entering the city now. We are inside the walls and looking for some signs of a Jewish presence.